Imagine this, you're sitting across from a woman, maybe at a cafe, maybe at a dimly lit bar, maybe even at a friend's living room during a casual get-together. She smiles at you. The conversation flows, but something in her body language feels heavier than just friendliness. Her laugh lingers half a second too long. Her pupils widen. Her body shifts ever so slightly toward you. And deep down, you know what's happening. This isn't neutral. This is attraction in motion, lust without words. The question is, do you recognize it? Or worse, do you miss it completely, like so many men do, stumbling past the signals women throw when desire takes over? Here's the truth, women rarely spell it out. They won't lean across the table and whisper, "I'm craving you." Instead, they communicate through subtle cues layered into their body language. If you don't see it, you walk away empty-handed, confused, thinking she wasn't interested. And if you misread it, you make the classic mistake of over-pursuing, smothering the tension, and killing what could have been raw attraction. That's why you need to sharpen your eyes, not just to notice the cues, but to know exactly what they mean, and how to respond with calm, controlled power. One of the clearest signs, proximity. When a woman is drawn to you, she unconsciously breaks the barrier of personal space. Her knees angle toward you. Her feet point in your direction. She leans in when she laughs, even if the joke wasn't that funny. Most men ignore this and think, she's just being nice. Wrong. Attraction makes her body magnetize toward yours. But here's where the trap lies if you immediately mirror her by leaning in too much, crowding her space. You flip the polarity. The very tension that pulled her closer evaporates. The move isn't to rush in, it's to hold your ground, stay composed, and let her feel the pull of chasing your stillness. Then there's eye contact. Lust reveals itself in micro moments, the gaze that lingers past comfort, the pupils dilating, the eyes dropping for a split second to your lips before snapping back up. She won't say, "I want you." Her body already did. But many men get nervous under that gaze. They crack a joke, look away, or fill the silence with useless chatter. That's the moment to test her desire. Hold the eye contact 1 second longer than normal. Say nothing. Let her nervous giggle surface. In that silence, you're not just seeing attraction, you're making her feel the weight of it. Another cue, touch. Sometimes it's bold, a hand on your arm, brushing her hair back while looking at you, tapping your shoulder when she laughs. Sometimes it's small, her fingers playing with her necklace, her nails grazing her glass while her body angles toward you. These gestures aren't random, they're her body speaking the language of availability. But here's the pitfall. Weak men misinterpret every casual touch as interest, chasing women who are simply playful or polite. That's why you need discernment. Ask yourself, is her touch accompanied by proximity, by eye contact, by the nervous energy of her body leaning into yours? If it stacks, it's lust. If it doesn't, don't delude yourself. Now here's the deeper layer, the psychology behind why women send these signals in fragments instead of words. It's safety and strategy. A woman rarely risks outright rejection by saying she wants you. Instead, she tests if you're sharp enough to notice without needing her to guide you. This is where men either rise as leaders or sink as followers. If you can read her, hold tension, and respond with composure, you separate yourself from the crowd of men begging for clarity. You become the one who makes her feel the spark of wanting more. But here's the cost of blindness. When you fail to read her body language, you overcompensate with words. You try to impress. You joke too much. You text paragraphs later that night, chasing what was already in your grasp. She loses the hunger because you drowned it with neediness. Or worse, you never notice her cues at all, and she walks away thinking, he just didn't get it. Do you realize how many opportunities you've missed in your life, not because you weren't attractive, but because you weren't attentive? The shift begins when you decide to stop second guessing, when you learn to watch her body speak louder than her mouth, when you understand that her lust isn't in what she says, it's in the tilt of her head, the subtle bite of her lip, the way her body betrays her attempts at composure. And when you can spot it without flinching, you gain control. You don't rush, you don't overreact. You let her signals simmer until she feels like she's the one escalating toward you. That's the art. That's the edge. Have you ever been in a moment where you realized too late that she was giving you signals, but you missed them? What was the cost of not recognizing it? And when you think back, which body language cues did you ignore because you thought it was nothing? Be honest, are you guilty of leaning in too fast and killing the tension? Think back to the last time you were with a woman you found attractive. Maybe it was at a bar, maybe at work, maybe a friend's birthday party. She looked at you. She smiled. Her energy was open, but you froze, unsure if it meant anything. That hesitation cost you. Because here's the hard truth, women rarely make it obvious. They give you just enough to see if you're a man who can read between the lines, or if you're like the rest, blind, over-eager, and quick to overinvest in something that wasn't even there. When lust creeps in, her body betrays her control. One of the first places it shows is in her breathing. Most men don't notice this, but when a woman is drawn to you, her breaths shorten, her chest rises quicker, her voice softens slightly. It's a physiological response. Desire quickens the body, even if the mind tries to keep composure. But here's where the game flips if you lean in too eagerly, comment on it, or let your own nerves spike. She feels exposed and she retreats. The right move is subtle acknowledgement. Hold your composure, slow down your own breathing, make her feel that you're steady while she's unraveling. That calm is intoxicating to her. Her lips are another battlefield. A woman lusting after you often moistens them, bites them gently, or lingers with her mouth slightly parted when she looks at you. It's primal, subconscious, but most men either don't notice, or worse, they react like hungry wolves, lunging in, making her feel cornered. You don't pounce, you let it hang in the air, you return eye contact, you half smile, you continue your sentence with poise. That patience amplifies her tension until she's the one who wants to close the gap. The more you can delay, the more the intensity multiplies in her mind. Her hair becomes a weapon too, twirling strands between fingers, tucking it behind her ear while looking at you, shaking it loose with exaggerated playfulness. These are her unconscious ways of drawing your attention to her femininity. Weak men see this and immediately compliment her hair, pouring attention where she already knows she has it. That's predictable. Instead, hold back. Let her performance linger without reward. That silence is discipline. When you finally do acknowledge her beauty, it lands like thunder because you didn't give it away too soon. But here's the trap: women don't just use body language to signal lust. They also use it to test you. She might lean close one moment, then withdraw and cross her arms the next. She may give you direct eye contact, then act distracted, pretending to check her phone. These shifts aren't accidents. They're deliberate plays to measure your composure. She wants to see if you'll panic, chase, and beg for her attention back, or if you remain unshaken. The man who doesn't react is the man who passes. The man who chases confirms he's predictable, and she loses the thrill. This is why indifference is your shield. When she withdraws, don't scramble to pull her back in. Let her sit in her own silence. Keep your body language open but relaxed. Don't cross your arms nervously. Don't lean forward with need. Continue speaking at your own rhythm, or simply let the silence breathe. That unbothered presence tells her you won't be toyed with, and ironically, that's what reignites her interest because she realizes you're not a man she can control with hot and cold games. The psychology behind all of this is simple. Lust is chaotic, and women fear losing control, so they project a push-pull dance, hoping to catch you slipping. If you chase, you become another pawn. If you freeze, you become invisible. But if you stay calm, collected, and deliberate, you stand out. You become the rare man who doesn't just see her signals, but knows how to hold the frame without collapsing under her tests. That's the kind of man women lust after, not just in the moment, but long after you've left. So what's the cost if you don't learn this? You live in the confusion of mixed signals, always asking yourself, does she like me or not? You keep replaying conversations, searching for answers, while she moves on to the guy who didn't need to ask. You waste years of your life misunderstanding that her body was telling the truth all along. You just weren't trained to hear it. And every missed opportunity piles into regret, the kind that gnaws at you when you lie awake at night thinking of the what-ifs. Your shift starts when you train your eyes to see these signs not as mysteries, but as signals in a game you can finally play well. You stop asking for certainty and start commanding it through presence. You stop overreacting and start observing. You stop giving away your power and start letting her reveal her desire piece by piece until it consumes her. That's when you win, not by chasing, but by holding the line. Have you ever caught yourself chasing her energy the moment she pulled back? How did that end for you? And when you think back, which of her signals were genuine desire and which were just tests you failed to read? You've probably heard men talk about mixed signals, as if women are some unsolvable puzzle. But here's the brutal truth: her signals aren't mixed. They're layered. There's a difference between her body confessing desire and her mind testing your strength. If you can't tell the difference, you'll always be stuck in confusion, swinging between chasing her when you should be calm and ignoring her when you should be leading. That's the divide between men who constantly lose attraction and men who make women restless with want. Watch her legs. This is one of the most revealing tells when lust is at play. If she's sitting and her legs uncrossed toward you, if her knee angles in your direction, if her feet point toward yours, that's her body dropping its guard. It's her unconscious aligning with you. But many men destroy the signal by overreacting. They shift their chairs closer. They lean in and try to escalate too fast. That ruins the polarity. The move is to notice it, but not acknowledge it. Stay grounded. Keep your posture strong. Let her legs inch closer until she feels like she's the one closing the distance. Because the more she moves toward you on her own, the more her desire builds. And then there's the nervous energy. When lust enters the room, women often can't sit perfectly still. Fingers trace the rim of the glass, nails tap against the table, bracelets jingle unnecessarily. This isn't clumsiness, it's energy overflow. Her body is betraying the calm front her mind is trying to keep. Most men don't see it. They think she's distracted or bored, but when her nervous energy is directed at you, it's proof she feels the tension. Your job isn't to calm her down with words, it's to maintain silence and steady eye contact until she realizes you're not cracking. That makes her even more aware of her own attraction. Here's where most guys fail: they mirror her anxiety instead of countering it. She fidgets, so he fidgets. She laughs nervously, so he laughs nervously. In doing that, he kills the masculine anchor that makes her attraction spike. A woman lusting after you doesn't want you to match her chaos. She wants you to ground it. She wants you to stand like a storm tower while her energy crashes against you. That contrast is what electrifies her. That's what makes her wonder, why can't I shake this feeling when I'm around him? There's another level of body language that's often overlooked: her voice. When attraction shifts to lust, her tone changes. Words slow down, vowels stretch. Her pitch may dip slightly. It's as if her body is trying to pull you in with sound. And yet, what do most men do? They talk faster. They fill the silence. They rush to keep the conversation alive. That kills the gravity she was creating. When you notice her voice soften, you do the opposite. You slow your delivery. You let pauses linger. You let her fill the gaps with her own desire. Silence, in that moment, is gasoline. But let's get even sharper. Sometimes she won't show these cues because she's scared of her own desire. Some women are terrified of being exposed in their attraction, so they clamp down, crossing arms, controlling posture, even forcing laughter to disguise the pull. This is where the untrained man gets fooled. He sees resistance and thinks, "She's not into me." He walks away, never realizing her body was fighting itself in real time. The difference lies in subtle contradictions. Does she cross her arms but still keep her feet angled toward you? Does she hold her posture tight, but her eyes keep finding yours when she thinks you're not looking? That's hidden lust, battling for control. If you're patient, if you don't react, the cracks eventually show. Why does all this matter? Because if you can't read her body language, you'll always misplay the game. You'll chase when you should pause. You'll retreat when you should hold steady. You'll talk when you should be silent. And every wrong move drains the tension until she feels nothing. Lust dies not because it wasn't there, but because you weren't calibrated enough to protect it. The internal cost is bigger than you think. Every time you miss these cues, you're not just losing her, you're losing faith in yourself. You start to believe you're unlucky, unattractive, or that women just aren't interested in you, and that belief rots your confidence. Meanwhile, the truth is you've probably had more women lust after you than you realize. You just weren't trained to see it. That realization should shake you, because what you've been missing isn't opportunity, it's awareness. So the shift is simple. Stop living blind. Train yourself to read her body as a second language, not to chase, not to perform, but to hold presence. Because when you can stand calm while her signals burn louder, you stop being another man who needs her to spell it out. You become the man who already knows. Have you ever looked back at a moment and realized she was practically screaming with body language, but you walked away clueless? Which of these cues have you ignored the most? Her legs, her nervous energy, or her voice? And be honest, how many times have you killed the moment by talking too much when silence would have done the work? Think of the last time a woman got close enough that you could smell her perfume on your skin hours later. You replayed the moment in your head, wondering if she was into you, second-guessing every little detail. The truth is, you didn't need to wonder. Her body had already told you everything. The signs were there, but your mind was too busy overthinking to catch them. That's how men sabotage themselves, not by being unattractive, but by being blind. When lust burns, her body leaks signals through micro-expressions, the quick glance at your lips, the sudden dilation of her pupils when you lock eyes, the half-smile that fades into silence. These are instinctive, primal cues she can't fully control. But here's the danger: most men react like amateurs. They rush in, desperate to close the gap, because they're terrified of letting the moment slip away. What happens? The tension evaporates. Lust thrives in tension, in that space where her body confesses, but your restraint magnifies it. The stronger move is always patience. You don't chase the glance, you let it linger. Hold eye contact and make her feel the weight of being the one exposed. Now, look at touch. It's not always direct. Sometimes it's proximity, her thigh brushing against yours under the table, her shoulder brushing your arm in a crowded hallway, her lingering close even when she has space to move away. Other times, it's self-touch. She plays with her earring, runs fingers down her neck, grazes her collarbone while looking at you. Men who don't understand think she's just fidgeting. Wrong. That's her body pulling your attention toward her vulnerability, her femininity. But here's the tactical difference. Don't pounce. Don't comment. Don't break the spell by making it obvious. Stay still, stay present, and let her invest more. The longer you delay reacting, the more she craves escalation. You'll also see it in her stance. A woman who lusts after you won't hold herself in rigid form. She'll angle her hip toward you, arch her back slightly when she stands, or shift her weight in a way that exposes her curves. Some of this is conscious, but much of it isn't. Her body arranges itself in display, and yet, this is where men fail by giving validation too early. They compliment, they joke, they make her feel caught. Instantly, she pulls back, embarrassed that she revealed too much. The smart man notices but doesn't reward. He stays silent, letting her own awareness of being exposed fuel the fire. Now let's flip it. What happens when you misread the cues? Maybe she was just being friendly. Maybe she was testing. This is where weak men crash and burn. They assume attraction where there is none. They escalate too fast, and they get rejected in humiliating fashion. That rejection scars them, making them even more hesitant the next time. So how do you avoid that? You don't assume, you confirm. You look for stacks of signals, not single ones. Her eyes, her proximity, her fidgeting, her body angling toward you. When they align, it's not imagination, it's reality. That's when you act, but still with restraint. Never desperation. And understand this, women use body language as much for control as for confession. Sometimes she'll flash a cue just to see if you bite. A lingering glance, a playful touch, a coy smile. If you bite too fast, she knows you're easy prey, and she pulls back. If you stay calm, letting her wonder if you even noticed, she spirals deeper into attraction. That's the paradox indifference makes her chase. And once she starts chasing, her signals get louder, clearer, more undeniable. That's when you flipped the power dynamic. Why does this work? Because women are wired to feel attraction in mystery and tension, not in clarity and certainty. When you rush, you remove the mystery. When you stay calm, you preserve it. And mystery is the oxygen that keeps her lust burning. That's why the strongest men aren't the ones who spot signals, they're the ones who hold their frame once they do. Anyone can notice a glance. Few can sit in silence while she squirms under it. The cost of failing at this isn't just missed opportunities, it's years of being trapped in self-doubt. Convinced women don't see you as desirable. It's walking away from nights where she was practically offering herself without words, while you chalk it up to bad luck. And it's worse than rejection, because rejection at least tells you where you stand. Missing signals keeps you guessing, stuck in limbo, powerless. But once you learn to read her body with precision, everything changes. You stop chasing, you stop begging for clarity, you let her reveal herself, and you reward her only when the desire is undeniable. That discipline makes you rare. It makes you the man who doesn't just stumble into attraction, he controls it. Have you ever escalated too quickly because you mistook friendliness for lust? What happened, and how did it change the way she looked at you and looking back? Do you realize how many moments slipped past you simply because you were too focused on words instead of her body? Picture this, you're sitting across from her, and the air feels different. She shifts closer without realizing. Her laughter has that nervous edge. Her fingers can't stay still. You sense it, something raw is unfolding beneath the surface. But here's where the game is won or lost. Do you let her body language work in your favor, or do you ruin it by showing your hunger too soon? That's the razor's edge most men never master. The deeper truth about lust is that it exposes vulnerability. For her, every glance, every touch, every shift of posture risks revealing more than she intended. That's why she hides behind words, behind casual conversation, behind little distractions. Her body whispers while her mouth tries to redirect. She'll ask you something trivial, pretend to check her phone, or glance away quickly after holding your gaze too long. If you're inexperienced, you'll fall into the trap following her words, assuming she's not interested. But if you're sharp, you'll hear the body louder than the mouth. That's when you gain control, not by forcing, but by waiting. Waiting is power. A woman in lust doesn't want a man who jumps at every cue like a starving dog. She wants the man who makes her feel the weight of her own desire. When her leg brushes yours under the table and you don't move, she feels it more. When she plays with her hair and you don't compliment, she wonders why. When she bites her lip and you don't lunge forward, she's left simmering in her own tension. That simmer is where lust multiplies. But here's the darker layer some women weaponize body language. Not to reveal desire, but to manipulate. They know a glance, a touch, a lean in can hook a man's emotions and make him dance. They don't want you, they want the control. How do you tell the difference? Look for congruence. If she touches your arm but angles her body away, that's not lust, it's bait. If she leans in close but spends the next hour avoiding your eyes, that's not attraction, it's power play. Real desire aligns across her signals. Fake desire contradicts itself. Your discipline is in spotting the mismatch and refusing to bite. That's why indifference isn't just a defense, it's a filter. When you hold steady, the manipulator gets bored and moves on, while the genuinely attracted woman doubles down, intensifies her cues, and reveals her intent. Your calm forces truth to surface. You never lose by waiting. The internal cost of failing here is brutal. A man who bites on manipulation gets drained. He gives time, attention, maybe even resources to a woman who was never invested. He feels used, bitter, confused. He tells himself women are cruel, when, in reality, he ignored the mismatched signals because he was too desperate to see what he wanted to see. That desperation is what women smell, and once they smell it, respect dies. So what's the shift? It's simple but ruthless. You stop chasing clarity from her words and start demanding truth from her body. You stop rewarding small cues with big reactions. You stop thinking you need to close the moment instantly. Instead, you let her burn. You hold eye contact until she looks away. You stay calm when she fidgets. You lean back when she leans in. You let her wonder if she's doing enough to get you. That inversion flips everything. She goes from testing you to competing for your attention. That's when you've won. Because the man who can read her signals without reacting becomes magnetic. He doesn't need to brag, doesn't need to rush, doesn't need to prove anything. His silence says it all. I know what you want. The question is, do you deserve me? That's the posture that makes women restless, that keeps them awake at night, replaying your face, your calm, your restraint. That's what separates the man she forgets from the man she obsesses over. So I'll leave you with this. She might not say it out loud. She might not ever admit it directly, but her body will always betray her truth. The man who sees it and stays composed owns the game. The man who chases it loses everything. She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.